Welcome back to another episode of Business Journey Unlocked. Today I'm joined by Dr. Azza Karam, founder of Lead Integrity. This woman-led global consultancy is redefining strategic management, ensuring high-stakes decisions are rooted in ethical governance and human dignity. Dr. Karam's credentials are unmatched. She leverages 3 decades of global diplomacy to help leaders turn organizational complexity into competitive advantages. Dr. Karam, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to dive in today. I'm going to turn it over to you to explain what you're all about.
Thank you very much, Kevin. What a lovely introduction. I'm glad that it's recorded because I'd love to get that recording of that intro. It's a joy and a privilege to be with you. I'm delighted that you asked. Lead Integrity is a women of faith led, by no means women centered or women centric, global management consultancy. So, our belief is that the way we see the world, the way we understand, the way we practice our professionalism over many decades, and the youngest amongst us has at least a decade of professional experience, that the way we do this is somehow impacted by our values. How we work is very much influenced by what we believe. How we behave is very much influenced by what we believe. And therefore, there is a value to acknowledging how important values are in any sphere or domain of work. We come from all walks of life. Some of us are rocket scientists. Some of us are elementary school English teachers. Some of us are have served in very senior executive positions in international development, human rights, peace and security, mediators. Um, you name the area of expertise. We come from those different areas together. The founding partners are literally from all over the world. We are based literally everywhere we have our experts, our professionals. So it's quite a vast reach in terms of presence and even more so in terms of areas of expertise. And it's one of the drawbacks that we can find experts in almost every domain of professional engagement, whether it's communications and marketing, whether it's mediation and peace issues, whether it's enhancing educational programs at elementary, middle, and high education levels. It doesn't matter. Whether it's rocket science, it doesn't matter. We've got the professionals with that kind of competence who are committed above all to giving of their all, of their best. So that's us.
That's beautiful. And I love the fact that you're using that kind of like a web, so to speak. So you're just trying to gain as and get into as much areas, as much niches to help just anybody out in that development. So regarding like the huge web that you have, what high stake problems are you seeing in global governance and leadership that compelled you to launch integrity? Was there anything like personal situation? Was it just how did it turn out to be?
All of us who are the partners have worked in so many different areas. Like I said, some of us have worked in international development organizations, governmental and non-governmental, profit and not profit. And all of us have this different but similar experience that leadership doesn't seem to be understood or practiced
Mhm.
as a matter of service to other than oneself and one's community or one's nation or one's particular set of interests. That leadership is about, it seems that the kind of leadership we see around us in almost all spheres of life, Kevin, is influenced by self interest rather than the community interest, the common good. And we realized also that, therefore, much of the leadership we see today, again, whether in governmental, intergovernmental, or non governmental spaces, tends to be too self centered on the business of making money, as opposed to what we believe is the profession of service to the common good and the communities around the world, which is much, much harder because it means working and listening and learning from communities as opposed to from leaders who have important decision-making positions in any sphere of life. we felt that that kind of leadership, which is motivated almost exclusively by trying to make money and profit, is a leadership that ultimately will fail the common good.
Hmm.
Because the notion that money, if you make money, everybody's happy and money somehow will circulate to the areas of most need, that has been proven time and again not to be true. Money does circulate when you make it, but it usually circulates in very limited spaces. And that's why we're looking at global inequalities, the likes of which we've never known before. And that's why we're looking at people who are rich getting richer and people who are poor getting poor. So it's not the common good, it is the good of some. To us, that is a leadership that lacks integrity. Because ultimately, the integrity of leadership is in how well you don't just serve yourself, and how well you serve everyone around you, regardless of color, creed, gender, you name it. So we're committed to that form of leadership. That's the integrity that we're committed to serve. And we know that it's possible because all of us have served in different capacities, continue to serve in different capacities, leadership. And because we've had examples, some of us have been very lucky to have mentors and examples of leaders who exemplify that which is necessary. And so that's what we're absolutely committed to. And why did we come to that realization? So many different instances and experiences, Kevin, not just one. But in my case, I worked for many, many years with religious leaders, with religious organizations. And I had this naive belief that that's where the best of the best is going to be. Because if you're committed to a higher being, for lack of a better word, if you're committed to serve that higher being, you're going to be a better person. You're going to do things right. You're going to serve everyone. You're not going to be selfish. You're not going to be politically motivated to get more power or more influence. You're going to genuinely want to serve. I had this naivete, and I learned the hard way that even in religious circles, especially religious institutions, and especially the realms of different religious leaders. Religious non governmental organizations are just like any other non governmental organization, frankly. They're running on what they need to make in order to continue to serve. They
Hmm.
have services that they provide, but they need to resources to be able to continue to serve. So they operate pretty much like any other non-governmental organization. Similarly, religious businesses or businesses which are religiously inspired still have the same motivation of making profit in order to continue to be able to do whatever it is that they're doing. And religious institutions which have predated and will outlive every single other institution we know in our lives also have a vested interest in continuing to serve their institutional interest. So they may be created, all of them, for the welfare of all, but ultimately institutions serve themselves. And their own longevity becomes the issue at hand as opposed to how well they're serving others. So having realized that, coming to terms with that realization, I knew that we had to figure out a way of being different, of providing an alternative example of leadership, of serving alternative examples of leadership, which may be poo-pooed, which may be looked down upon, like, oh, really, you're that, you can't be that idealistic. Yes, you can. We believe you can be idealistic and serve the common good and and have as your ideal the service of the common good, everyone. We believe that, and that is what we try to work with those who seek our knowledge to support them to do.
I love that. That's beautiful. And it just goes to the fact that you really do care about the community. You do have that community mindset. And just like with any business, obviously the byproduct is making money. But if you really truly enjoy and love what you do, spreading the faith, spreading the knowledge, spreading the counseling, the coachability, the mentorship, that really goes tenfolds. Money is the byproduct of it. It just goes, money will come, but if you actually really enjoy and love what you do, money can't replace that ever. It just can't.
That's exactly right. That's very well said, actually, Kevin. I would put a little bit more, I'd add just a wee little more to what you've just said, which is beautiful, which is that sometimes the making of money is not necessary in order to serve the common good.
Uh,
Sometimes serving the common good through the resources already existing within communities is absolutely possible and does not require enormous sums of capital in order to do. Because right now we've reached a stage where everything needs money. We need money to do this. We need money to do this. We need money to do this. And the truth is that if you look within the different communities who are looking to be served and who are able and willing and always actually serving one another, you will find that there are many different kinds of resources already available that can be deployed: people's skills, people's willingness, people's time and availability. This is the ethos of our common human understanding and our common human condition. Sometimes we can do plenty with very little money indeed, if at all. And if it was always about money, we would never have been able to succeed in educating generations and in building societies the way we've done so since time immemorial. Resources are not only money, resources are also plenty other things like human will, like energy, like political will, like the ability to self finance yourself when you want to do work with others by giving more of your time without expecting that every single minute will be compensated and compensated plenty.
I agree, and I completely understand your perspective. The hardest struggle that I personally see is just somebody actually starting out. How would they gain that momentum based on your situation with the faith-based leadership? How did you gain momentum, gain credibility, and gain that leverage to focus on everything that you overcome so far?
That's a great question. And the answer was we went back to see what we have already, each one of us. We've been working for over 25 years. Many of us are a minimum of like 25, 30 years of already dedicated service. And
Wow.
we realized that between us, we actually had plenty. Some of us, in fact, if not most of us, have contacts, have networks that we've built up over the years. Some of us have something that no amount of money will ever make possible, which is reputation.
Mhm.
Reputation of excellence, reputation of service, reputation of trust, reputation of being decent, reputation of being hardworking. Money never buys that. And that is not spin. That is hard, dedicated years of work that speak for themselves. We have the networks, we have the reputation, we have the knowledge and the skills. And putting it all together meant we already started with enormous capital, but not capital that is weighted in dollars. Capital weighted in things way beyond the dollars. So we deployed. And I hate the term because it's usually used in military context, but for, let's just bear with me and allow me to use it. We deployed our networks, we deployed our skills, and we started with a commitment, not that we were going to make money, but a commitment to serve and
Mhm.
see where our services were needed and be prepared. And in fact, we're committed to be prepared to at least give 15% of our time pro bono for efforts that are needed. Now, here's the challenge. Their efforts are needed everywhere. And we find that we're actually giving a great deal more than 15% of our time. And we have to figure out how to do something else that's really, really difficult, especially for professionals who are inspired by faith. Different faiths, by the way. We're not all from one faith tradition. We come from every single conceivable faith tradition you can imagine. Some you've probably not even heard of. But one of the key challenges that women who are inspired by faith, no matter how many years of professional dedication and excellence of service they have a very big challenge, which is we have to learn. And by the way, all women professionals complain about this, so it's not just women of faith, but let's just say that the women who are inspired by faith tend to have a higher dose of this, which is the reticence, the discomfort of asking to be paid for the service.
Mhm.
And that, of course, especially in Western and American contexts, is considered, but you've got to have, what do you mean you can't ask for it? But of course you got to learn, you got to value yourself, you got to position that. That's grand for Western context, that way of thinking that you got to ask, you got to put a figure, you got to make it high. And the higher you make it, the more you're going to make money and the more you're going to be valued, which by the way is true in most Western contexts. But we work internationally. And one of the things that we've tried to do, all of us, and we're still trying, is to make sure that this common service business isn't something that will be predicated on a certain model. So we're not going to use a Western model of evaluating, asking. Um, we're committed to not using a Western model. We're committed to understanding how things would work in different cultural contexts around the world because we're serving different cultural contexts around the world. And yes, we all do have that reticence. Some of us are getting better at making the ask. But all of us are sensitive to the fact that it's not just about the skill of learning how to value yourself by putting your price up this much, and it isn't going to be that only. Of course, it is important, but what is more important is the ability to see, to serve and see the impact, the ripples of the impact of goodness that goes in communities ultimately. For us, sometimes is extremely hard to evaluate or to physically live to see. But given how dire the circumstances around us are, Kevin, we're kind of committed to trying that model out as best as we possibly can. We may not excel in asking for the highest possible price. And I got this from every single Western colleague I've known and worked with. What do you mean? You've got to ask for this, da, 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 da. And the more you ask, the more you're valued, the more you're respected. And I thought, I get it. I totally get it, but I don't want to get this. This isn't the way that I want to live my life. I know how much I'm worth. All of us do. And the issue is not to adapt to a culture that tells you make more money, make yourself more valuable by asking for more money. But we would like to adapt to a different cultural ethos, which is serve more, to help more, to benefit everyone more. And it may be that you earn less than you think you're worth it, but it's okay because you've actually done something, a ripple that will serve generations beyond you to make this a much, much nicer place to live.
That's beautiful. I really do like the approach you're going at. And it's just hard getting outside of that scope. A lot of people, as you mentioned, in the States, they're so focused and fixated on monetary value. As you're aware,
Mm.
money is the root of all evil, but money makes the world go round. So it's really hard to stay away from that aspect. But essentially, if you can figure out your groove, if you can leverage the connections that you are doing, money isn't really the resource that's going to help drive the business. Faith, connections, leveraging those connections would really drive,
Skills.
and the skills as well. Correct. Correct.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's the thing. I'm not saying you don't need money. That's not what I'm saying, because then one would not be able to survive. But what I'm saying is the monetary value that we've all come down to associating everything with, that kind of a culture in which the monetary value is the end all and be all, we
Mhm.
need to challenge that a bit. Because we can see, if we look around us today, we can see that it doesn't mean that everyone's going to be okay. It doesn't mean that our world is going to be less at war with itself and with nature, that the availability of money and the pricing of everything highly in terms of financial monetary ways has not led us to a better world, Kevin. And so you're going to have to push back a bit against this notion that money is the end all and be all. Money is necessary, yes, but it is not the only thing that's necessary. Money without values, without integrity, without a commitment to sometimes work for free because you know that this is going to be good. You know that this is needed. You know that others need it that will not be able to pay you, but they're doing darn fine work and they deserve to be supported. And you know that there's such a thing as what you put in, you will get out ultimately in the grander scheme. Because that's what all our faiths tell us. All our faiths say the more you give, the more you will receive. It isn't a zero sum. If you're not gonna earn money, you're gonna die. It isn't quite like that. There is such a thing as a karmic cycle. All of us believe in it in different ways. And there is a very simple notion in every single faith tradition, from the indigenous to the latest, which says you need to serve, you need to give. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to go and become a pauper and have no food, but it just means that you have to have that, even if it's a wee little tiny part of your orientation, to give beyond your own self interest, to give to others, because that will come back. It will come in goodness, maybe multiplied many times over. All of us believe that. All of us live that in our lived it many times over. The least we can do is honor that part of giving to others in order to somehow someday we will get back. And we are, and we are getting, we're here.
You couldn't have said that any better. It just goes from the fact that you have to start somewhere. You don't have to
Hmm.
go beyond, you don't have to explode into all these different avenues. But if you start just one little thing day by day, little
Hmm.
habits grow into something much bigger. But regarding the monetary value, it is hard to adapt out of that because as a society, you're at a very young age where you understand the value of money. Okay.
Mhm.
So when you have
Yes.
that in mind, the way I look at things personally before I buy something, I think, how long did it take me to get this money? How long did it take me to get this money to purchase a car, purchase a laptop in that essence. So, like,
Mhm.
having that mindset is just
Mhm.
something that's so ingrained with a lot of people in society, so it is very hard to break that mindset because you've been thinking about it all your life as a kid growing up. Your mom and dad
Mhm.
taught you the value of money, your mom and dad taught you the way of life. As I mentioned before, money is the root of all evil, but essentially you need money to go around. But as you mentioned, when you have faith, and you said too that money's not going to go. Like you're not saying it's not going to be without money because we need money. We can't survive without having some resources, some monetary value. Even though you're leveraging your resources, your connections in some shape or form, you need some money to actually grow and expand to other global departments. Other how to say, other countries, other different walks of life. It is very hard to adapt that coming into it. Now, when you're into it
Mhm.
for a certain period of time, then your mindset will change. But initially going into it, it's very hard to break that mindset. The mind doesn't want to change. It's very hard for the
Mhm.
mind to change, and the mind is just so fixated on monetary value. What's the value do I get out of this? And when people eliminate the fact of what value am I getting out of this, the only
Mhm.
value that they should think of is, "What value am I producing for others?" And that's a
That's
very
right.
big
That's exact
thing that you said beautifully, and I do like that.
That's
So we're
exactly right. I think you said it more beautifully, to be honest, Kevin. I would just say one more thing, which is it's money and definitely money, but you also need so much more because if it's only limited to money, it won't lead to the impact that you want it to lead to serve as many as possible. But one other thing is, yes, all of us who are doing this also have other jobs. So
Mhm.
we're not fully earning from just this space, actually. We are all keeping our feet, so to speak, in other jobs, at least keeping one foot in another job, so that we can and it is not easy. So I wouldn't say start with absolutely nothing when you have nothing. No, it's actually really helpful to start with a little bit of your savings. You're going to invest them, consider it an investment, but try to keep your other income stream available as much as you can. So it's not just throw yourself into this and take a leap of faith and it's all going to be fine. Yeah, take a leap of faith. Absolutely. We do that every day, almost 1,001 times a day. But this is something that we have the luxury to do because we're also not 100% dependent on this for our livelihoods. So that has to be made super duper clear. Um, but that's precisely our way of giving back as well. And we can earn, we are earning each from different streams. This is our way of giving back and trying to earn something also for our collective.
Besides leveraging the connections, besides having the faith-oriented mindset, is there anything, any non-negotiables that you have in your approach that directly translates into the competitive edge for your clients?
We're actually incredibly selective about who we will answer the request for our services for, um, which doesn't make things any easier. It means that it's a bit more difficult to earn incomes, so to speak. But for us, it matters very much that the folks that we will give our time and expertise to are people who, or communities, or organizations, or individuals who we know are doing good work. Who are committed themselves to serving the common good or the public good. So that means that we can be a wee bit on the selective side. It doesn't mean that we say no to everyone, but it does mean that we have to do research and vet where the asks are coming from before we commit to serve. We're also deeply committed to consultation amongst ourselves as partners. We're 10 partners. It's not that much. But we're deeply committed to consulting amongst one another and double checking and vetting with one another. Listen, we received this. What do you guys think? Is this okay to go ahead with? Any issues, any objections, any concerns? So the process of consultation matters a lot. The process of vetting and selecting those who are themselves committed to the common good and public welfare matters a lot. Um, I would say the only other red lines are that we're all committed to giving back a significant percentage of what we earn to the common pot, because that's, if you're going to be committed to serving the common good, you might want to serve the institution or the mechanism that is trying to serve the common good. So we're all committed to that, and we're all committed to pro bono work, a certain percentage of our time pro bono work. Those are the non-negotiables.
That's beautiful. And it is, I would assume, a little draining trying to vet, do the proper research in order to see if these persons qualify based on your criteria.
It
Correct?
is, but guess what? You're right. But remember, I said we have, amongst the many things that cannot be quantified or by money, we have expertise, we have
Hmm.
networks, which
Hmm.
are very useful to and in significantly facilitating the process of vetting. So it's not like we're starting from scratch because we have no idea. Amongst us, the networks are so rich. I know that at least one of us will have heard or will have worked or will know someone who has heard and worked with this particular institution or person making the ask or making the demand. So between us, we actually can, just by consulting, which is why consulting is really important, we do have the checks and balances within. And what we don't have, when we don't know, we know where from within our contacts we can get more information about this. So we deploy what we have to also enhance and refine the process of vetting. It's not like we start from scratch and have to look for where we're going to find.
I see. I see. And just going back to leveraging your connections. And
Mhm.
that's something you just have to do from time to time. Besides
Right.
that aspect, besides the vetting, the communicative outreach, based on what you're doing, based on the approach that you have, is there anything besides that where you see the biggest drain on the team or the resources given your situation and company?
Um, Consultancies are a dime a dozen, Kevin.
Mm,
Everyone's got, like, almost every other household or every other apartment has a consultancy registered to it and is doing consultancy work. So it's a densely populated field. And the ability to talk big about what one can offer, what any institution or consultancy can offer is quite refined, shall we say. And what that means is that it's a densely populated field, consultants and consultancies, and at the same time, um, fact checking. Do these people really know what they're talking about? Is not something that everyone will do very diligently, or some people don't want to do, because at the end of the day, the easy way of just saying they look good, their website looks great, their track record sounds amazing, um, they have all the right characteristics, they're based in the right part of the world, there's, they are from a certain elite, whether gender or social standing or country or whatever, there's an ease to use those criteria and decide they're great when you haven't actually really vetted. So sometimes you get a lot of people in this space who pretend to know a great deal more than they actually know.
mhm.
Sometimes you get a lot of people who use their social standing, their ethnic background, their racial background to leverage themselves so that in a world where the criteria can be very superficial and knowledge and wisdom can be underestimated, it can be very hard to operate, shall we say. So we find ourselves knowing areas where others are being asked to serve as consultants. We know so much more, um, but the ask won't necessarily come to us. It'll go to others. Uh, and we have to somehow calibrate so that yes, of course, we have to increase our image and image building and market and brand and all that stuff. Absolutely. Um, and then we kind of then have different opinions about, well, how much are you willing to market? to put into marketing of the brand, um, versus how much time do you wanna put into actually doing the actual services that are being asked of you? So,
Mhm.
these are all things that we have to balance with one another and negotiate. But the challenge of being women of faith led in a market that is very densely populated with a lot of guys, sorry to put it that way, means that we it just means that it makes the challenge more interesting, shall we say, and it makes the work that needs to be done to publicize our very relevant, existing, refined wisdom and knowledge, it just makes it all the more imperative and therefore all the more harder to make the case for we're here. We know you can come here. Yeah,
Harder but more rewarding. That's what it is.
yeah. When it finally comes through, yes, yes,
Exactly. Once you see all the hard work you did to grow and expand and get all these people that you have in, you take a step back for a second and be like, "Wow, this is actually working. I'm helping
yeah.
out all these people." And once you finally see that, then it just grows into something. It's just a light bulb that sparks in your brain. The hardest thing to do is just doing the due diligence. That's
Mhm,
all it is. And once
mhm,
you actually do
mhm.
the due diligence, then it follows and it goes from there. So,
Yeah.
based on everything that you've accomplished so far within this year, what are your goals for going into 2026? What do you want to accomplish?
We definitely want to expand the base of our clientele. We wanna make sure we can encourage other clients to come in, more clients, but we're also interested in being able to serve the space. So we have our own different opinions about making money and not making money and all that, but we do see the private sector businesses as a very, very important arena of
Mm.
engagement and learning, and we'd like to be able to serve that space more and better. So that's something that we're gonna try and see if we can focus on a bit more diligently. So far, we've been doing very well with non-governmental organizations, even intergovernmental organizations like the UN and European Union and so on. And we certainly want to continue to serve and grow those bases too, but we're also very keen on being able to serve those who work in the profit sector more diligently.
I can't even imagine how it is just going back and forth with everybody in your organization. It is hard to have everything connected, everybody think alike, but as with anything in life, you do have opposing opinions, and that's just a way of life. Going on my generation, there's so many people that want to have people in their lives, friends who have the same mindset as you, the same opinions, but that you're going to go nowhere in life. The beauty of
Mhm,
life is that
mhm.
everybody has their own opinions on life, the world, religion, politics. That's just life in general. And it's sad to
That's right.
say that my generation is turning away from that.
Mhm,
I mean, I've heard of so many stories of people who say, if you don't agree with this, we don't want we're not friends anymore. Like they just push people
mhm.
away. They don't want to have those different opinions, but it's just again, that's just a way of life. And it's hard to
I
accept,
think
but that's beauty.
yeah, I think it's also because we're so and especially our generation, which is flooded with tools of information and
Mhm,
accessibility of information. There is this need to see results quickly, need to be
mhm.
satisfied quickly. The idea that you have to have patience and long term vision and all that stuff can be very draining for the younger generation. They want to come on, enough already. Let's get to where we need to go. And I think I understand that completely, but I also think that we have been created very different. And there's wisdom for the fact that we are so differently created. Um, we were not made from machines. Otherwise, we might have been very much alike. We're actually made to be different. And
Mhm.
there's so much to learn from that difference per se. Just from the difference, you learn so much. I've learned the most from the people who have opposed me most. I've learned the most from the people who are so different from me in every way. they continue to be the people I learn most from. It doesn't mean that I want to spend the rest of my life learning. It does mean that I want to have that niche area where I can come and rest and not have to be challenged every single minute of every single day. Yes, I do need that space. All of us do, where we can just be with ourselves and with those who we're comfortable with. We don't have to argue with. We don't have to try to understand. But we make that time. And that time is finite. That cannot be all of our time. All of our time cannot be done or spent with like-minded people all the time. Then we will learn nothing. And then we will accomplish nothing. We need to understand that we carve out time, space for being with the like-minded, with those who make us comfortable. But we are here on this earth at this time to serve beyond our own comfort zone. We are here to negotiate our space, our existence, our planet, and the welfare of everything. We're here to negotiate that with one another. That is our job. That is what we're created for. We're not created to build nice little houses and be comfortable and secure within them. We're here to serve when it's really, really cold, or when it's really, really hot, or when it's really, really hard, to make sure that others can live in peace around us. And they may be others whom we do not like, whom we absolutely do not see eye to eye with. That is the purpose of our existence. And we have to understand that this isn't about having an easy time and an easy life and making money. There's got to be more, because people who have made a lot of money are not necessarily living happily ever after either. So it isn't that. There must be another purpose. We believe that purpose is to serve the common good. We believe that purpose is to serve peaceful coexistence amongst communities. We believe that purpose is to serve the most vulnerable amongst us, not just the ones who have it all. And so that is what we're here for. And it does mean that we have to work and coexist with people who are not like-minded, who may be very differently minded. But as long as they're not hurting us, we owe them to serve that common space for everybody's welfare. It's a very simple ethos, and it's a remarkably different thing to come to terms with.
You couldn't have said that any better. That was a beautiful statement. And it just goes to show that in order to actually grow and thrive in life, you have to go into some uncomfortable situations.
Yeah.
That's the only way
Yes.
to grow. You have to
Yes.
expand your mind to what you already have. And the only way to do that is to get into situations, environments where you're not necessarily keen or comfortable with, and get involved with people. Because at the end of the day, people connect with people. You're not gonna
That's right.
grow and expand if you're just in your house that you built. The only way to grow and expand is when you walk out of that comfort environment.
Yeah. Yes. And relate to other beings. That's how come we like dogs and cats and pets and all things, but we seem to have a problem with one another. We have a problem with one another. Let's see if we can make it better to coexist. If we can communicate with non humans, sometimes much better than we communicate with humans, then we really should be able to figure out how to coexist peacefully and actually learn how to be good to one another. That should be what we're here for. And what a dull life it would otherwise be, just to live in comfort all one's life.
Exactly. If a founder or leader is listening who feels called to lead with a greater integrity and global impact, what is one piece of enduring wisdom you would share about building a resilient, purpose driven organization from the ground up?
Be faithful to your own beliefs. Be faithful to the idea that you need to do good for all. Just use that standard of common good. And if you're faithful to that standard, you can overcome plenty, because there's a lot of folks out there who want to serve and who want to serve others, who want to serve the common good. So keep your heart open by being faithful to that standard. Resilience is built on service. It's not built by making everything good for yourself and just living off others.
Mhm.
Resilience is built on service to others. Be faithful to that.
That's beautiful. And coming from your personal experiences you've had in life, what is one habit that you carry day to day that has allowed you to excel in life and kind of gain the success you've earned so far?
Being grateful.
Being grateful.
Being grateful. I am so grateful for every tiny thing. And I keep reminding myself to be grateful for every tiny thing, even for the tough things, even when things are like, oh heavens, must this happen? Must I go through this? Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, God. I'm grateful. Learning to be grateful is one of the most magical things ever. Good things come to you when you are grateful.
I think another thing too is if you're not looking at life to where people need to always do something for you, there's always no handouts in life. You have to be able to do certain things in life without people aiding you. Okay? Once you have that mindset out of the way, once you realize that people aren't here to help you, like you have to help yourself, and it goes to show like when someone doesn't do something, you're like, okay, that's understandable. You're not upset at the fact because you didn't expect them to do anything, but there's a lot of people who expect too much from others. And when nothing happens, what happens? They get upset, they get depressed, they get angry. But when you don't have that mindset where you think, okay, that's okay, then that'll help you way much in life as opposed to having this mindset hovering over you. You're like in a cage almost where you expect so much from people. But again, nobody's gonna give you handouts. Nobody's gonna do what you want to do. That's only your life, your challenge. And there's a reason why it's only your life and your challenge.
So, what if I were to say there's a difference between expecting kindness from others and between feeling entitled
Mhm,
you want from others? I think we should never give up hope on the expectation of kindness,
mhm.
especially when we are giving it ourselves, when we are serving that purpose of trying to be as kind as possible to all. I don't think we should give up hope on expecting kindness and being grateful for it. But I do think there's a difference between that and having a sense of entitlement that everyone is supposed to do what you need them to do and the way you want them to do it, and that you work hard enough, so therefore you're entitled to this and this and that. I think that sense of entitlement is very different from the expectation of kindness.
I
Often
agree.
we see them as one and the same, but they are not. I think they're very different because when you expect kindness, you also give it. And that's a very virtuous cycle that we should never lose hope or give up on or see negatively as a sense of entitlement. Sense of entitlement is different.
The way I tend to view the world, it's not about how the world treats you, it's how about you treat the world.
It's what you give to treat the
Mhm,
world. Absolutely. I
mhm.
agree 100%.
For anyone who's listening or watching to this episode, what's the best place for them to reach you at?
Lead-integrity.com. That's our website. It's www.lead-integrity.com. And if you scroll all the way down, you'll see that you can contact us. And we look forward to that very much.
Thank you. I do appreciate your
Thank
time
you.
once again for taking the time to talk to me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kevin, and all the very best with your awesome podcast series and your work.
Thank you. My pleasure.
All right.